not done. So to be honest, what really happened is we were like, we're gonna show the movie, and the studio was like, no, you're gonna show 20 minutes. So we're like, no, we're gonna show the movie. And they're like, it's not done. And I was like, shoot. They're like, if everything's not perfect and it's not done, and what if we're gonna change things? I was like,
we want it to go
I literally
well.
brought the movie with me on the airplane. Like I have like a folder with like a disc, like a hard drive.
Of Hollywood stars might be seeing their careers come to an end. A federal court is currently housing a huge $400 million lawsuit against them, and today a judge did not necessarily rule in their favor. Blake Lively is in the middle of a massive career implosion, and it was her choice to market It Ends With Us, a movie based on Colleen Hoover's book, as a light-hearted film where you'd wear florals and take your friends. However, the actual content of the movie revolves around a woman named Lily and her domestic violence (DV) relationship with her husband, Ryle. This tone-deaf marketing approach didn't sit well with fans, who felt it trivialized the serious subject matter. On top of that, Lively shamelessly promoted her hair care line, alcohol brands, and jeans during the film's promotion. Lively and the director of It Ends With Us, Justin Baldoni, are now entangled in two lawsuits. On one hand, Blake Lively is suing Justin, claiming that his production company Wayfair Entertainment fostered a hostile work environment. She alleges she was the victim of sexual harassment, SH, and inappropriate contact on set. She also claims that Justin and his team launched a massive smear campaign to ruin her reputation. This all came to a head with a New York Times article accusing Justin of trying to bury Blake in bad press. Justin's team had to aggressively fight back because the article caused significant damage to his career. He lost his agent at WME, was dropped by his podcast, and saw several deals fall through. Even his upcoming movies are now at risk of not being produced. Blake is suing him for $250 million, claiming he's running a smear campaign. Justin, however, denies all allegations, stating he never defamed or harassed her. He believes Blake is using these false claims to take over the rights to It Ends With Us from Wayfarer, a movie they originally held the rights to. There's even speculation that Lively and Reynolds colluded to secure the rights to the sequel, It Starts With Us. It's been a wild few weeks, and I've been covering this extensively on my Instagram. Now, I'm bringing it to YouTube because my audience says there can never be too many people involved in a story. Today in court, the issues at hand revolved around Blake Lively seeking a gag order. She claims that Brian Friedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney, is defaming her publicly and trying to litigate the case in the media. Friedman argued against this, stating he was forced to release information because Lively allegedly colluded with the New York Times by providing a confidential CRD complaint, which is not a public record. This led to the article's publication in December, which devastated Justin's career. The losses he's faced, losing his agency, podcast, and other business ventures, are staggering. This case has become increasingly complicated. Supporters of Lively argue that no woman should have to tolerate such behavior in the workplace. However, as evidence has emerged, it seems to suggest otherwise. Over the weekend, Brian Friedman launched a website with the amended complaint, naming the New York Times, Lively Reynolds, her agent Leslie Sloan, and Sloan's PR company. The site includes a detailed timeline, videos, text messages, emails, and documents that appear to show Lively weaponizing false allegations of sexual harassment against Wayfarer and Justin Baldoni, along with co-producer Jamie Heath. The evidence suggests that every time Lively didn't get her way, she escalated these allegations. While she admits the inappropriate behavior stopped after filming resumed in 2024, she now blames Justin for the bad press she received during the film's promotion, where she made careless comments about domestic violence. If you ask me, I'm Team Justin. There's too much evidence in this case that doesn't support Lively's claims. Instead, it paints her as someone who doesn't like being told no. And when a narcissist is told no, what do? They retaliate. In federal court today, things didn't go well for Blake. The hearing was a pretrial conference, and Blake's team wanted a gag order to stop what they called a pretrial smear campaign by Brian Friedman. They accused him of releasing documents, videos, and other materials to the public. However, gag orders are extremely hard to obtain in federal court, as the press has a right to know about public records in court cases. Unsurprisingly, the gag order was not granted today. Both sides argued passionately, with Friedman emphasizing the devastating impact on Justin's career, including hundreds of millions in losses. He also presented evidence that disputes Blake's claims, including video footage of her interviews that contradict her narrative. Blake Lively, who once described her character Lily as a bad narrator, seems to have become a bad narrator herself. She's admitted to taking control of the editing process, writing, wardrobe, and marketing from Wayfarer, even though it was Justin's film. These admissions, made in podcasts and interviews, make it hard for her to prove her case. Judge Louis Lyman, who presided over the hearing, refused to issue a gag order or impose any restrictions on Justin's attorney. He simply reminded Friedman to follow the federal civil rules of conduct for attorneys. So as of now, there's no gag order in place. They did receive a warning. If this situation continues to escalate and worsen, the court has no problem moving the trial date up from March 2026 to an earlier date. A second issue addressed during the hearing was Blake Lively's refusal to be deposed by Brian Friedman, the attorney representing Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer Entertainment. Through her attorneys, Blake claimed she doesn't feel comfortable being around someone who has, in her words, defamed her character. This is a woman who doesn't want you to look at her, touch her, or question her, yet she feels entitled to dictate who gets to depose her in a federal court case. Let me tell you something about depositions. You don't get to choose who questions you. You can request the other side to work with you, maybe assign a different lawyer, but to go to a judge and demand this? I found it absolutely hysterical. Unsurprisingly, the judge didn't allow this to move forward and reminded Blake's attorneys that she doesn't get to decide who deposed her. She's a participant, a co-defendant on one side and a plaintiff on the other due to the cross-complaint. Justin's team gets to decide who questions her. So no gag order was issued and Brian Friedman can still depose her. This was not a good day for Blake. Blake and Ryan Reynolds, have been acting like bullies, targeting a smaller, lower-budget production company to get their way. It's a classic David versus Goliath situation. Some of my followers might be surprised by my stance because I generally believe all women, but in this case, there are women on the other side of this lawsuit whom I believe more. It's unfair to say we have to believe all women unconditionally because sometimes women do lie and not all men are terrible people. While I'm all about supporting women, Blake Lively's trail of tears and lies is so easy to trace. I want to show you a clip I shared on my Instagram where she flat out admits on a podcast to stealing and taking over this production. She wasn't hired to be an editor, producer, director, or writer. She was hired to act. She received a vanity credit as an executive producer and that was it. But she came in like a wrecking ball and took over everything. Here's what she said. I work with Eric Damon, who is the stylist and costume designer on Gossip Girl. Anyone who works with me gets it. It's like drinking from a fire hose. I come in and I'm like, this is what we're going to do. I find that fashion is storytelling. It's a way to message so much more than you can with words. It's a silent way to communicate. So, the way I come into a character is always through fashion and costumes. In another interview, she even admitted that her husband, Ryan Reynolds, wrote part of the rooftop scene. She said, yeah, that's 99% his. He just added some tweaks. Christy Hall wrote an incredible screenplay, but there are natural modifications that come in when an actor is hired. You're trying to infuse your own personality and authenticity. Women are people of multitudes, and it was important to me that it didn't feel like someone's interpretation of female gaze. It had to feel real. She also mentioned bringing in her own team, including a music supervisor and editor, Shane Reed, who had never edited a movie before but worked on Taylor Swift's music video, and even the same composer from Deadpool and Wolverine. Wayfarer and Justin Baldoni are essentially saying she walked into this production and took it over, and she's admitting to it. She rewrote scenes, took over the wardrobe, which went $500,000 over budget because she brought in her own stylist, hired an editor with no film experience, and even brought in her own composer. This wasn't her film to take over. At one point, she even took a rough cut of the movie and showed it at Colleen Hoover's book event without the studio's permission. Every film has a distribution agreement, and previewing it without approval can negatively impact its release. It can kill a movie, lead to piracy, or ruin its chances of success. But Blake didn't care. She brought the movie on a plane, showed a rough cut, and ignored Sony and Wayfarer's instructions. Now, she wants us to believe she's the victim and had no power in this situation. But how can she claim to have no power when she had Justin's name removed from posters, banned him from the premiere, he had to go to the basement, and forced him to leave the red carpet before she even arrived? The most shocking piece of evidence to come out of this timeline was an apology statement she wanted Justin and Wayfarer to release when she started receiving backlash for her poor marketing decisions. Sometimes backlash is organic. When you upset the public, they react. You don't need a smear campaign for that. The statement, provided to Justin's team on August 12, 2024, was meant to take responsibility for the backlash. But the filing in federal court, which included a detailed timeline as part of the amended complaint, revealed the truth. The statement, prepared by Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds on behalf of Bonnie Heath and Wayfarer Entertainment, read, "It Ends With Us was a troubled production, and we take full accountability for that. We are deeply sorry to everyone we caused upset to, both privately and publicly." Blake Lively, Colleen Hoover, and the entire cast and crew led with professionalism every step of the way, and any negativity aimed at them is ours to own. By the way, Blake was receiving backlash because she was promoting her alcohol brand's haircare line and jeans while downplaying the seriousness of domestic violence. The statement continued, "We mutually agreed that the cast would promote the films separately and understood why. We have always said we are not perfect, and even if unintentionally make mistakes, we will always own them. It's not anyone's job but ours, and that's part of being man enough. We will practice what we preach. We are learning and growing from this experience and thank everyone for their patience as we find a better way to proceed. We are very proud of the film and the warm reception it has received. Part of our work is to have uncomfortable conversations for public growth. The film is doing that on screen and we are doing that off screen. Thank you to the cast, crew, and the public for the opportunity to be imperfect and to be given space to learn and grow with humanity and dedication." Essentially, Blake and Ryan wanted Wayfarer and Justin to take the fall for the backlash Blake was receiving due to her poor decisions on Instagram and in interviews. She was acting recklessly, dismissing serious issues, and promoting her personal brands inappropriately during the film's promotion. The backlash was deserved, but instead of owning it, she tried to shift the blame. That statement is the epitome of narcissistic entitlement, demanding someone else take responsibility for your actions and bullying them into compliance. It's wild. And when Wayfarer and Justin refused to release the statement, Blake's backlash didn't stop. She couldn't recover, and according to the evidence, she allegedly started working with the New York Times in October to launch a smear campaign against Justin. This was all in an effort to force him to take the fall for her mistakes. When they still refused to sell the rights to the movie or give in to her demands, she filed this lawsuit. In my opinion, she filed it to get ahead of the lawsuit Justin was preparing against her. She was trying to be on the offensive rather than defensive because her case falls apart when you look at the evidence. Blake's career, and Ryan's for enabling this behavior, might be over, but we'll have to wait and see. Justin, on the other hand, had a great day in court. I stand by what I've said. If you get mad at me, that's fine, but what are your thoughts about all of this? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching, and bye guys.